Welcome to Shadow Mind, where we explore what it really means to live a life aligned with truth, impact, and inner power. Today's episode might challenge your assumptions about personal growth. It's not about staying positive or pretending to be perfect. In fact, we're going to explore the exact opposite. The title of this episode is How Your Dark Side Can Reveal Your Life's Purpose. We're often told to suppress our flaws, hide our pain, and silence the parts of us that don't fit the polished, socially acceptable version of success. But here's a radical idea. Maybe it's not the light alone that reveals who we truly are. Maybe it's the darkness too. What if your envy, your anger, your shame, your fears, the things you've tried to bury, were actually pointing you toward your calling? What if the parts of you that feel broken are actually the beginning of something meaningful? Today, we're going to walk straight into that uncomfortable space. You'll learn why embracing your shadow self isn't weakness, it's strength. Why healing alone doesn't lead to purpose, but transformation does. And how the very things you once thought disqualified you might actually be your greatest gifts. So get comfortable, open your mind, and get ready to meet a version of yourself you might have been avoiding, but who holds the keys to everything you've been searching for. Let's begin. Let's start with a question you might never have been asked seriously. Do you know your darkness? I don't mean the random bad moods or the things you regret from last week. I mean the parts of yourself you've spent years hiding from others and maybe even from yourself. We all have a shadow. Every one of us. Even the kindest, most loving person has one. Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychiatrist, referred to it as the shadow self. It's the part of our personality that contains everything we don't want to admit exists within us: anger, jealousy, ego, fear, insecurity, desire, pride, addiction, even violence. The shadow is not inherently evil. It's human. But when we don't acknowledge it, it can become dangerous. Why? Because what we suppress doesn't disappear. It hides. It festers. And eventually it erupts, often at the worst times. Let me give you an example. Have you ever seen someone completely overreact to something small? A sarcastic comment, a missed appointment, a harmless mistake. But they explode. Or they retreat, cold and withdrawn. It seems irrational, but what you're witnessing isn't about that moment. It's a glimpse of their shadow breaking through. Something that's been unacknowledged and therefore unhealed. The same thing happens inside us. The parts of ourselves we refuse to look at, they control us from the dark. The moment you begin to turn toward them instead of running from them, everything starts to change. Flashlight the cost of suppression. We live in a world obsessed with positivity. We're told to stay strong, keep smiling, focus on the good. And while there's value in optimism, there's danger in toxic positivity, the kind that denies the full range of human emotion. When you're taught to reject your anger, you never learn how to process it in a healthy way. When you're told your sadness is weakness, you bury it instead of listening to what it's trying to say. When you're praised for being nice, even in situations where you feel violated or resentful, you learn to please others while abandoning yourself. This is how the shadow grows. The more we suppress, the more the shadow collects power in the background, until one day, it shows up not just as a feeling, but as passive aggression, sabotage, addictions, bitterness, rage, or apathy, a numbness toward life itself. So, let's flip the script. Instead of avoiding your darkness, get to know it. Not to indulge it, not to glorify it, but to understand it. Facing the mirror. You can't transform what you won't face. And you can't heal what you won't name. Getting to know your darkness starts by telling the truth to yourself. Ask yourself, what do I judge in others most harshly? What am I afraid people would think if they saw the real me? What do I envy? What am I ashamed of from my past? What parts of myself feel too dangerous to express? You may not like the answers, but that's the point. Because behind those uncomfortable truths lies the map to your most authentic self. Let's say you judge people who are confident, loud, or self-promoting. It may be because, deep down, you were taught to stay small. So their boldness triggers something you've been forced to repress. That shadow, your repressed desire to be seen, is yours. It's not evil. It's untapped energy. It's a piece of your voice waiting to be reclaimed. Or maybe you find yourself constantly triggered by people who seem lazy or irresponsible. Could it be that you've pushed yourself for so long under the weight of perfectionism or duty that you've lost touch with rest, play, and freedom? See how this works? The things we judge or hide often point towards something unintegrated within us. Getting to know your darkness is like learning the secret language of your soul. Brain your shadow is emotional intelligence in disguise. Let's be clear, the goal is not to act on every dark impulse. The goal is to understand where it's coming from. Let's say you feel intense jealousy toward a friend's success. Most people suppress it. I shouldn't feel this way. I should be happy for them. But pause. What if that jealousy is a message? What if it's not about the other person, but about what you've been denying yourself? Maybe that friend's success is triggering your own deep desire to step into your potential and the pain that you haven't yet. Jealousy, in this light, is not sin. It's information. Your darkness, when seen with clarity, becomes emotional intelligence. It teaches you how to navigate your internal landscape with curiosity instead of shame. Gear the shadow and your life purpose. Now you might be wondering, how does any of this relate to purpose? Here's the key. Your purpose isn't found in who you pretend to be. It's found in who you really are fully, deeply, and honestly. And your shadow holds the missing puzzle pieces. If you've experienced deep anger, your purpose might lie in justice or advocacy. If you've battled shame, your calling might be to help others feel accepted or free. If you've walked through addiction, maybe you're meant to guide others into healing. If you've struggled with people-pleasing, your journey may lead others to reclaim their boundaries. The dark moments of your life weren't wasted. They were initiations, each one shaping the way you understand the world and what you're here to give back. But again, this only becomes clear when you stop running from the shadow and start learning from it. Hammer and wrench practical ways to explore your darkness. This isn't theoretical. You can work with your shadow in real, grounded ways. Here are a few tools to begin. 1. Shadow journaling. Set aside time each week to write without filters. Use prompts like, I don't want anyone to know that the part of me I most try to hide is, what I resent but never say out loud is. Let the answers come. No editing. No shame. Just truth. 2. Track emotional triggers. Every time you feel a strong reaction, anger, jealousy, disgust, shame, pause and ask, what part of me is being activated? What does this remind me of? This reflection helps decode the shadow's language. 3. Dream work. Our unconscious often speaks through dreams. Keep a dream journal. Look for symbols or feelings that repeat. These can offer clues to what your shadow is trying to express. 4. Safe expression. Find healthy ways to express dark emotions. Scream into a pillow. Write letters you don't send. Do primal movement or breath work. It's not about staying in the dark, it's about releasing what's been stored. 5. Talk to someone. Therapists, coaches, or shadow work practitioners can hold space for the deeper layers. You don't have to do it alone. Milky Way integration over perfection. So what happens when you finally make peace with your darkness? You become whole. Not perfect, but real. And in that wholeness, you discover power. You're no longer hiding. You're no longer splitting yourself between who you are and who you think you're supposed to be. You walk into the world fully integrated, capable of loving, creating, serving, and leading from a place of deep authenticity. Because here's the most profound truth. Your light shines brightest when you're no longer afraid of your dark. Studio microphone closing the segment. So here's your invitation. Get to know your darkness. Sit with it. Learn from it. Understand it. Don't rush to fix it or bury it. Because inside those shadowed places are hidden messages pointing you toward what matters most. Not everything you find will be comfortable, but everything you find will be honest. And honesty is the beginning of transformation. When you truly see yourself, all of you, then and only then, can you begin to discover what you were truly born to do. Now that you've started to face your darkness, the parts of yourself that are often hidden or denied, the question becomes, what do you do with that awareness? This is where the journey turns inward. This is where you begin the real work, the work on yourself. Here's something important to understand. No one can do this for you. And that's not a punishment. It's your power. Working on yourself doesn't mean fixing yourself. You're not broken. You're becoming. It means learning your patterns, healing old wounds, building emotional awareness, breaking cycles you've been stuck in for years. And most of all, it means choosing to grow even when it's uncomfortable. Bricks start with radical self-honesty. Growth starts when you stop lying to yourself. Be brutally honest. What patterns in your life keep repeating? Where do you sabotage your own peace? Who do you become when you're hurt or afraid? These answers aren't meant to shame you. They're your blueprint for change. Counterclockwise arrows button, you can rewire yourself. Most of your thoughts and reactions are habits, not truths. You learned them. You can unlearn them. And with enough self-awareness, you can reprogram them. Start small. Catch the inner critic in real time. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Set boundaries where you used to stay silent. Each of these is self-work in action. Wrench practical tools. Here are a few simple ways to support your growth. 1. Journaling. Ask yourself uncomfortable questions. Don't filter. Let it all out. This is how you start telling yourself the truth. 2. Therapy or coaching. You don't have to do this alone. Sometimes you need a mirror. 3. Mindfulness. Learn to pause and feel. You can't heal what you refuse to sit with. 4. Shadow work. Keep exploring the dark. Ask what your fear or jealousy is really trying to say. Seedling growth leads to purpose. As you begin to work on yourself, something beautiful happens. You start becoming the kind of person who can hold purpose. Not someone who's perfect, but someone who's aligned. Real. Ready. Your pain starts to make sense. Your patterns become your power. And your darkness, once feared, becomes the path. Because the version of you who does the work is the version who's ready to lead, love, create, and serve with meaning. Understanding yourself, even deeply, means little without action. Self-awareness is powerful. It shows you where you've been, how you've adapted, and what's held you back. But it's not the final step, it's the beginning. Awareness without action is just insight-gathering dust. This is where most people get stuck. They wait. They wait until they're ready. Until they're fully healed. Until the fear disappears. Until they feel like the perfect version of themselves, calm, confident, capable. But that version? It never arrives on its own. You become it through action. Growth happens in motion. Healing and purpose don't happen in theory. They happen in real time, out in the world, when you move. You grow when you show up while still scared. You find meaning when you help others with wounds you're still learning to live with. You build confidence not by thinking differently, but by doing differently. And yes, your darkness will resist. It'll whisper things like, "You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? You're too broken to do this." Wait until you've fixed yourself. But here's the radical truth. What if that voice is wrong? What if the very things you think disqualify you are actually the things that prepare you? Your pain gave you perspective. Your shame taught you empathy. Your struggles gave you strength no one sees. Your darkness carved depth. Those aren't flaws. They're credentials. Start small, but start. You don't need to change the world overnight. You don't need a grand plan. You just need to move forward, gently, bravely. Start with what you already know, what you already carry. Launch that project that's been living in your journal. Share your story not when it's perfect, but while it's still real. Help someone who's standing where you once stood. Every time you act, even in small, uncertain ways, you're voting for the person you are becoming. Not the one you were told to be. Not the one shaped by your past pain. But the you that's being forged in motion. Your purpose lives in the doing. Most people search for purpose like it's a destination, something they'll find once they've fully figured themselves out. But purpose rarely shows up in stillness. It doesn't arrive all at once. It reveals itself in pieces through the doing. When you take action, you gather feedback from life. You discover what energizes you. You realize what matters, what doesn't, and what's yours to carry. And yes, you will make mistakes. You will feel awkward. You will be tempted to quit. But guess what? Purpose doesn't require perfection. It only requires presence. Show up as you are. Broken, messy, unsure. Because even in that state, you can be of service. You can create. You can contribute. You can become. There's a hard truth that most people avoid. Your purpose lives on the other side of fear. Not behind comfort. Not in safety. Not in playing it small or staying hidden. It's found right where fear shows up the loudest, in the places that stretch you, challenge you, and ask you to rise. We tend to treat fear like a warning sign. Something that tells us, stop, danger ahead. But not all fear means something is wrong. Sometimes, fear is a compass, pointing directly at what's meaningful. Fear is not the enemy, it's a signal. Fear is often misunderstood. We're taught to avoid it, numb it, or push it down. But fear isn't always here to hurt you. In many cases, fear is simply information. It tells you when you're nearing your edge. It shows you where something real is at stake. Think about it. You feel fear before speaking your truth. You feel fear before showing someone your real self. You feel fear before beginning something that matters deeply to you. That fear? It's not weakness. It's proof that you're stepping into something with real emotional weight. Your dark side knows how to use fear. The darker parts of your psyche, the ones shaped by shame, rejection, or past trauma, know how to use fear as a tool to keep you small. It whispers, "What if you fail? What will people think? You're not good enough. Stay here, it's safer." But what if that fear isn't truth, just habit? What if those voices were only trying to protect the version of you that once had no power? And what if now you've outgrown them? The fear doesn't go away, but your relationship to it can change. The edge is where purpose begins. Fear draws the line between where you feel safe and where you start to grow. Your purpose doesn't live in your comfort zone, it lives right past the boundary. It's found in the conversation you're afraid to start, the story you're scared to tell, the dream you keep postponing until you're ready, the version of yourself you haven't dared to become. And it's there, in those vulnerable, raw moments, that your most authentic self begins to take shape. Because on the other side of fear is freedom. Courage is a practice. Don't wait to feel fearless before you begin. That moment may never come. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the choice to move forward with it. You don't need to leap. Just lean. Start showing up in small ways. Say the thing you've been avoiding. Share something you're proud of. Apply for what you think you're not qualified for. Let someone see the real you. Every act of courage, no matter how small, builds a bridge between who you are now and who you're becoming. Fear is the door, not the wall. Here's the shift in mindset. Fear isn't a wall meant to stop you. It's a door, and your job is to walk through it. Each time you do, your dark side loses a little more power. Each time you act in spite of fear, you reclaim a part of yourself. And over time, you'll start to recognize the difference between fears that protect you and fears that point you toward purpose. You'll stop avoiding what scares you and start using it as fuel. If there's one truth people avoid more than fear, it's this. You must accept the bad. Not just tolerate it. Not numb it. Not pretend it didn't happen. You must truly accept it. That doesn't mean justifying the harm you've caused. It doesn't mean romanticizing pain or turning suffering into some kind of aesthetic. What it means is recognizing that pain, failure, grief, regret, and darkness, they are part of being human. Not the broken part. The honest part. You will get it wrong. No matter how self-aware, healed, or evolved you become, you'll still stumble. You'll make bad choices. You'll hurt people even when you don't mean to. You'll carry regrets. You'll say the wrong thing. You'll outgrow versions of yourself that once felt like home. And that's okay. Your value was never tied to your perfection. It's tied to your willingness to keep growing. Scars are not disqualifications. So many people believe their past failures or their worst moments somehow cancel out their right to a meaningful life. That because they've been hurt, or lost their way, they're no longer worthy of purpose. But it's the opposite. Your pain doesn't disqualify you, it prepares you. It gives you empathy. It humbles you. It deepens your capacity to understand others. It shows you how to lead not from ego, but from truth. Every scar you carry is proof that you've lived. And if you let it, each scar can become a source of wisdom, not shame. Carrying the darkness without being consumed. When you resist the bad, you let it define you. You spend all your energy hiding, fixing, apologizing for parts of yourself you haven't forgiven. But when you accept the bad, truly, with compassion and ownership, you begin to integrate. You stop seeing yourself in fragments. The good version of me, the bad version of me, and instead, you become whole. You realize, I can carry this darkness without letting it drown me. You learn how to live with your shadows, not as enemies, but as teachers. Wholeness is the real goal. Our culture glorifies perfection. It tells you that success is found in having no flaws, making no mistakes, always getting it right. But purpose doesn't live in perfection. It lives in wholeness. And wholeness means accepting your light and your shadow, owning your mistakes without being owned by them, seeing yourself clearly and still choosing to show up. That's real power. That's real purpose. That's real humanity. You are still worthy. This is the message you might need most. You are still worthy, even after the failure, even after the shame, even if you haven't made peace with it all yet. You're not here to be flawless. You're here to be real. And your purpose will be built not on your perfection, but on your willingness to keep going, keep growing, and keep turning even the darkest chapters of your life into a source of light for others. So, what's the real takeaway from today's episode? It's this: your darkness is not something to run from, it's something to understand. Begin by getting honest about what lives in your shadow. The pain, the fear, the anger, the regret, all of it has something to teach you. Do the inner work it takes to face those parts of yourself. That means slowing down, reflecting, and giving space to the wounds you've buried. But don't stop there. Insight alone isn't enough. You have to act, even when it's messy, even when you feel unready. Move forward, one small step at a time, especially when fear shows up. Let fear be a signal, not a stop sign. It often marks the edge of who you've been, and the beginning of who you're becoming. And perhaps most importantly, accept that the hard parts of your story, the failures, the flaws, the moments you wish you could erase, are not proof that you're unworthy. They are proof that you're human. When you stop fighting those pieces, you begin to walk in wholeness. Your dark side isn't your enemy. It's not your curse. It's your compass, pointing you toward your deepest purpose, your most authentic life. Let it guide you not into shame, but into truth, growth, and meaning. Thank you for being here with me on Shadow Mind. If today's episode resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone else who's navigating their own journey. And if you haven't already, hit follow so you won't miss what's next. Until next time, keep walking toward the truth, the whole truth, with courage and grace.